It is our final game of the group stage in XGS Season 7. Fluffy AIMERS take on Mormon Battalion. Win, and you are automatically into the playoffs. Now, both of these teams have qualified, whether that be through last chance or through automatic top 3 into playoffs. That's going to be the question we're figuring out. We just saw SSGA qualify in Group A. There's one more spot remaining. Currently, Fluffy AIMERS are sitting there. It's Goose joining me back in. My name's Red Roke. We're underway. We're ready to go. And let's go ahead and take a look at our rosters for this game. And I'm going to go ahead and say this is an uphill battle for Mormon Battalion. But, oh wait, I don't think JJ's in the lineup. I think that's incorrect for Fluffy AIMERS. I don't know. He might. I'm pretty sure I saw he's not in. But anyways, Mormon Battalion has been punching above their weight, even if it is Fluffy AIMERS' favorite on paper. I'm going to make sure that the graphic is correct or incorrect. Goose, you can yap for a little bit.
No, it is. I believe it's incorrect. It's AMT playing in for...
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
AMT, deity, rival, recited in Emilio. And I don't necessarily think that's going to have a big impact. Not to take too much away from JJ, he is a player who, in a sense, does impact the players with a system. But these are all very vocal players. They're all, not all of them, but we have players like Rival who are very capable of shot calling, and this is going to be a little bit of a weak point for their opponents, Mormon Battalion, which this is a very interesting game. They are only 1 point behind Fluffy AIMERS in the standings, so if they win, whether it be in overtime or regulation, they will replace Fluffy AIMERS and move on into that playoff spot, knocking Fluffy AIMERS into the play-in spot. We have exactly the 5-stack: Exige, Exer, Cassia, Toaster, Eli. This is the reblance of what was wanted goons. And again, this is overall, I don't want to use the word lackluster, but I don't think they've really hit their fullest potential. They've started to ramp up. They've had a little bit of problems. As you can see, their overall stats are very even going into their actual player stats, also even. And, again, it's a best of one. It depends on the map, but I do think Mormon Battalion have a very even chance of potentially setting themselves into playoffs.
Now, I mean, Fluffy AIMERS, they had a chance to secure it yesterday, but Team Sesh was able to get the victory and put themselves into the top 5. What a story it has been for those guys. We are heading to Skyscraper, and it's going to be Fluffy AIMERS. So have we seen any lair? I don't think we've seen a single lair. We were so close for this one. Yeah, maybe I missed the game, but
not seen lair.
I was about to say, I would have heard. There would have been like some sort of announcement, social media post if we went to lair. Ali would have probably never been able to shut up about it if we went to that map. But dude, Fluffy AIMERS, they had a chance to try and get it done yesterday, but Team Sesh was able to clutch up when it mattered most. And yeah, we just lose Team Sesh, but they've done all the hard work. They've got inside, and now Fluffy AIMERS, now they've got something on the line, and this is a game where they're missing JJ. So have they left it a little too late? However, we've seen AMT, I think in his most recent game, I want to say, unless he's subbed in GS, was Blitz Gaming Final, and he looked stellar in that best of 5. So he fits in well with this Fluffy team. He has been playing with JJ and Fluffy for a long while, just always being the sub. And he's a ranked beast on me, or I think it was JJ who was telling me that this dude just plays a lot of rank. So I don't think he's going to just immediately be this big drop off from JJ. He should be able to pull his weight. And the first ban is going to be the Monty. And JJ has been he's been the player that is on Monty. So getting rid of the Monty from a Fluffy standpoint kind of tells me that if it's not JJ, it's nobody.
Yeah, and I also think this is potentially the perfect map. And that loss from Fluffy AIMERS yesterday, I didn't watch it, but the caliber of those two teams, that is a matchup that not only Fluffy AIMERS should not have lost, but that definitively. I think, not at the moment, but Fluffy AIMERS have a resemblance of potentially being a top, if not the top Fluffy AIMERS, or not Fluffy AIMERS, but the top T2 team, especially with Makers kind of shifting around a little bit, being on the fallbacks, trying to figure things out. So I am a little bit worried, especially without JJ. Again, he's not going to have an impact like losing a Mr. P or Aerial Rise. These are very vocal players, but you are going to have that sense of a lead and a couple of rounds and situations gone. And if Mormon Battalion, if they're able to really pick off of those mistakes and the gaps that most likely will be created off of it, then we could potentially see themselves be sent into playoffs. Keep in mind, they lost their very two first matchups, and it's been a very rocky road leading up to here, and it all ends on Skyscraper.
Mormon Battalion in their last game did play on Skyscraper, getting a win in overtime versus Outlast Black. That one went 8-6 for them. Their defense was pretty strong, and I mean that's kind of how it always goes, you know, on this game mode, or not on this game mode, on this map. No surprises there, but do keep that in mind. Mormon Battalion has recently gotten an overtime win, but it was against Outlast, which isn't the greatest team, so I think that still gives some confidence to Fluffy to go ahead and try this map out and let it be going through the bans. The Valkyrie is going to make it through these bans, so we're going to be seeing that being brought out by Emilio, one of the more recent additions. I believe he is the newest addition, if I'm not mistaken, onto this team. Unless if I'm missing something. I don't think so. Yeah, Emilio, he was on that wildcard ACAT team and recited. Hold on a minute. He's going to get things rolling early here on the Solus. Xer falling, and it's automatically a bad start for Mormon.
And I also haven't really taken into account that there is a factor that Skyscraper is a very difficult map, and one of these teams simply just can't be able to play it correctly. And that could perhaps maybe be a problem for Mormon Battalion, because if you look at a team like Fluffy AIMERS, not only do they scrim a lot more, they may scrim the exact same, but I do know that most likely the scrim talent is going to be a lot better for Fluffy AIMERS. They're just one of the top T2 teams. They're going to get those pro league scrims, etc. And it's just one of those situations where you can't let a lot slip. Eventually, though, Flaws is able to get recited. Probably one of, if not the most important player for Fluffy AIMERS. We've seen time and time again, if you can shut down recited, that is essentially the key to success, to stopping these aggressive plays in rounds 1 for Fluffy AIMERS.
Empty is going to switch around that shield. And getting that kill with about 2 minutes left in the round, even though you did lose one, that's not too bad for Mormon Battalion. They have made some decent progress. They're getting closer and closer to that site. They have to start all the way on the other side of the building. And now Deity's going to fall. So momentum going to Mormon Battalion. Fluffy AIMERS, they're going to have to batten down the hatches and hope they can hold on for dear life. Emilio falls. All down to Empty and Rival. Smoke and a Warden. Oh boy, all left is Rival in a 1v3. This does not look great. However, Eli is on the floor, so there might be an opportunity. Did XGS get an audio cue away to Rival? I'm not sure. Do they know where he is? He has his sights over towards where Rival is. Roughly, XGS is going to place it onto his head and get the round win for Mormon Battalion, despite that early pick from Fluffy.
Yeah, and I wouldn't necessarily say that is very worrying. That was a round where it was fully in the control of Mormon Battalion. It really had to. Mormon Battalion, especially on the attack on Skyscraper, which in theory are held as, you know, an overall arching opinion that this is probably one of, if not the most defender-sided map, that every single round, if you want to win on the attack, if you want to get a successful attacking half on Skyscraper, you need to not only push the tempo, but continuously be able to control it. Skyscraper is like a maze. You can, and because it's a maze, it allows these defenders to intertwine in between the lines of sight. There's a lot of opportunities for flanks and swings that just simply you can't all watch. There's so much to do, and not on top of that, it's really hard to get in the map. Mormon Battalion, really, that entire round, nothing was given to them. Everything they did was done almost perfectly. Getting the trade back, getting into the map, pushing back the tempo, taking that control over by Dragon very easily without having to waste a whole lot of attacking utility. They did everything great.
We're going to have to see a little bit more bark from Fluffy AIMERS. They just allowed Mormon Battalion to have loads of map, and especially as, who was it? Was it Recited? I think Recited was the first death taken. Now coming into this one, I don't think we're seeing any adjustment. If I'm not mistaken, these look like the same operators from Fluffy AIMERS. But Recited, he's trying to figure out where this push is coming from exactly. with his lens. Can he find anything? Not really happening so far. 2:20 on the clock. Mormon Battalion, they're going to start getting some walls open and start working their way on in. Looks like Decided's going to be the first line of defense. And they know he's there. You can see Toaster. It looks like he's going to team up with a teammate. They're going to start opening walls. This is going to be a lot of pressure. Grimby's coming out. Surely that means the death of Decided. He found, but he only loses a little bit of HP. No, it's not going to happen. Siege gets the kill.
Again, a very big opener. This time they didn't have to sacrifice or lose a life. And if you look, every single engagement, Fluffy Aimers, they're feeling a player. It's usually one isolated player feeling the pressure from two different attacking players holding a cross angle. These cross angles that they're finding, not only that, but being able to find this consistent and very valuable utility has worked absolute wonders. And on top of that, they've been using it to the fullest potential.
Yeah, that was a big call to get the Grim over there and just like, all right, let's just force him out of there and catch him open. He had to run for the hills. It didn't quite make it in time. A minute 15 on the clock, though, so it has been a little bit slower from a Mormon Battalion perspective on their offense. Last time around, they had made great progress toward, and they were already pretty much in, but now here comes a lot of pressure coming in from Mormon Battalion. Fluffy Aimers, they're doing better, but still, is it going to be enough? A minute on the clock. Emilio might be the first line of defense. That's actually going to be Rival. He's shut down, so now heads are going to start swiveling. Deity might be in a good off angle to catch out any tries to push. Still, Mormon Battalion trying to find out where they have all 5 members. What's the drone status look like? They've only have 3. Do they know where any of these players are? Well, they're going to start opening up some walls and get work done. Emilio is going to start to see a lot of players coming his way, but so is Deity. He waits in the wing. Emilio does find one. Deity finds another. Drops to the floor and disappears. It's a disappearing act for Fluffy Aimers. They're making Mormon Battalion's lead evaporate from their sights. There's now 15 seconds left. Man count is even. It's so in favor of Fluffy Aimers just in the blink of an eye, but the diffuser is going down by Toaster. An extra cover fire. It's not going to happen. Deity goes massive for Fluffy Aimers.
That was an absolute huge round, and I talked about how this map is like a puzzle. Those lines of sights get very cloudy, especially if you start to lose those players and you're not able to hold a 4-man crossfire. If you simply have a player basically useless, down, locked in that planning position, it's essentially a 1v2. And not only that, but you have to worry about protecting your teammate. It's a very difficult position, and a difficult position that Fluffy Aimers put Mormon Battalion in. Fluffy Aimers completely flipped the script, getting themselves out of that trench that Mormon Battalion has yet again set 2 rounds in a row. A very good read, and it really does look like Fluffy Aimers were finally able to find a way to really set in and counter that really aggressive early on playstyle, leading into the actual execution.
Well, I mean, we do have to talk about this is such a defensive favored map, and Mormon Battalion, they made it look on that second one. They got it very, very close. It came to a DD clutch to get that one done. So keep that in mind. Fluffy Aimers just kind of don't look the greatest on their defense. So just keep that in mind. Fluffy, there's some cracks, but they papered over it a little bit on that last one.
Well, we're going to go to a quick little technical break. Don't go anywhere far. We'll be right back shortly.
Alrighty, folks. In looked like had to go ahead and reset his router. Currently tied up 1-1. Mormon Battalion did find an offensive round win on Skyscraper. If you're just joining us back into this, but Fluffy AIMERS, we were saying right before we went to break, it looked a little sketchy because this is such a defensive favored map, and Mormon Battalion immediately came out and won an attack, and then it came down to a 2v4, 2v5. I'm not sure clutch. Idia went massive, getting a 3-piece on that last. So things are even killed right now, but Mormon Battalion, they're kind of sneakily there on this offense.
Yeah, they are very sneakily there. They did find a semblance that eventually led into a comeback into that round win. And it was a very hardened player. That was a situation where they had to claw themselves out of the trenches. And we're probably going to continue to see that difficulty throughout these first couple of rounds until we start to see someone, start to figure it out.
Rival's having issues. He hasn't placed a single mirror wall down. He's typing for a rehost. This should be a reset here. Yeah, it looks like we're going to be getting a new lobby, so that's probably going to mean another break for this one. Yeah, we got to accommodate for our internet issues here. Folks, we'll be right back. We're going to try and get everything's reset. We're going to go to a quick rehost and a quick break. Don't go anywhere. We're still here. We're alive. I think. Goose, are you alive? Are you there, Goose?
I'm kind of limping through this, but I'm here. I'm here.
Limping? Dude, we're sitting. Don't worry about it.
We're here.
We're chalk. The mental is chalk. It's 1-1. Skyscraper. MORMON Battalion looked okay. Outside of that, I don't know, bro. It's getting late. I think we've got the internet fixed, question mark. There was like some back and forth. I mean, MORMON Battalion, take one guess where a lot of them are from. One of them's only from Utah, but there's a lot of people out west, and then I think they have like half of Fluffy on east. So there's been like a whole debate on like what to host. I'm not sure who's lagging, but I bet somebody is lagging. Whoever's got the lowest kills, we'll just say they're lagging.
It is Siege. There's a lot of problems. I'd rather be here though, aside from, you know, being in the harbor at 3 in the morning. But nonetheless, we're back, and MORMON Battalion are trying to replicate the success they had on their very first round, Fluffy Hammers. If you are now just joining in, or if you forgot over the 5 hours that we've been gone, clawed back from I believe it was a 2v3, 2v4 in the second round. We're able to shut down that last 2 players by a very valiant play from DT. And you know, Fluffy Hammers is a team that's known for having relatively 2 to 3 players that can really always show up consistently. That's what makes Fluffy Hammers so good. It's a very consistent team, and for MORMON Battalion, it's going to be a relatively good uphill for them.
And for Bay in the chat, and for anybody else who's in the same boat, JJ is not playing in this. He was unable to make the game today, so Ampty is in his spot. Instead, the super sub for Fluffy. MORMON Battalion on the attack. Extra does take a little bit of damage early in this one, but crazy so far in terms of our operators. Valkyrie did make it through the bans. Exer trying to get some control on the map. And we've seen, so the kills are kind of all reset, but Deity has been a big factor in this so far. MORMON Battalion, we're looking good on that offense. They're going to try and go again. And this Fluffy Hammers, their problem has been their extended defense. How much pressure can they exert on the map before they get back to side? Well, there it is again. Toasters shut down Ampty, and we're in that same problem that Fluffy were experiencing. Like, they can't get a lot of control outside of their base.
Yeah, we're continuing to see these crossfires being set up, and theirs recited, but Toaster going huge in the round with the doubles, eventually able to shut it down. And because of that, Emilio is able to have a little bit more flexibility. He's able to breathe. Laws is going to fall off that position, and now he's just going to have to face MORMON Battalion front forward.
And then on the clock, Deity does find one. Raid's about to come through, but no! Deity, once again, he got a triple kill in the round before all the raids. He's got a double on this one. Massive moments from Deity. Here comes some jiggle peaks coming in from Toaster, however. Not gonna happen. Minute on the clock, and now MORMON Battalion. They're on the back foot. What's the drone situation looking like from these guys? They're gonna be able to maybe get some information, but they don't have a lot of time to get over towards site. Siege, it looks like he's gonna try and sneak up the stairway. Toaster is still making noise, but Rival shuts it down. Alert to the danger. Emilio clutches up the round, and Fluffy Hammers now. That's 2 rounds in a row for them after that slow start. Good bounce back from Fluffy as they get things rolling here, and maybe, who knows, maybe that break just kind of chalked any momentum that MORMON Battalion had.
Yeah, and you know, it's MORMON Battalion really feeling that iron curtain that is drums in Top Dragon. It is really just a complete cutoff from the 2 sides of the map. It's just a very difficult part of the map to attack. Probably, in my opinion, one of the most difficult portions of a map, where you have to transition over from the far cross map clear onto the actual site execution. It is probably one of those just more difficult. You simply have to not only worry about the defender utility, the pushed up positions that Fluffy Hammers had there, but also there's just not really a lot of angles. There's necessarily only 3 positions you can go to. It's necessarily a very easy hold for Fluffy Hammers. And on top of that, DT just completely hiding, escaping the line of sight of that drone, of that intel that MORMON Battalion tried to get. So they're going to need to work on that just a little bit more. They're not going to be able to let that slip a whole lot, especially translating over to their defense on their own.
Attackers are heading out to defuse a bomb.
Very consistent operator lineups as we head to our first floor. Fluffy Hammers They had to clutch up on that last round. They went man early in that one, but Edie, he continues to just be a difference maker for Fluffy. Empty has a big job holding this stairwell and also watching anybody that tries to push through these barricades.
You know, it's going to be that early round just trying to find the softest part of this map, and it really is what it comes to, is just very a finding out phase, just trying to find out what they want to attack first. A cross angle being held by Xer on this window, but AIMT, he's very well aware of it, and this essentially does create a little bit of a cross, but there's no players on that top black position out on balcony, and not a whole lot of presence in the building whatsoever. MORMON Battalion having a very difficult time just simply trying to find a way into the map itself, and this is a problem that really haunts the players on attack on Skyscraper time and time again.
Yeah, Empty was so close, and he is still up on this position. He's got a nice angle to maybe try and cause some chaos, but his barricade falls. So now he's really bunkered over towards his staircase. Emilio's gonna fall in the background, but this is not a unfamiliar position for Fluffy Aimers. They've been down in the hole before. Empty finally finds his one, goes big, and he's also got the Warden goggles to continue to fight this one. Now it's Fluffy Aimers. They're gonna, just like they have done in the previous rounds, they're gonna take back that lead. And now it's a 4v2, all up Claws and Eli. Make that Eli, who has to clutch up. Despite the first pick for MORMON Battalion, Fluffy Aimers shuts it down quickly.
Yeah, just a really difficult time for MORMON Battalion to clear those power positions, as such as like Pantry and top black, with Emilio, or not Emilio, but AIMT rather, just holding it down, just not really giving up, not falling back, and that's exactly how they set up. That was on purpose, that they were trying to trap AIMT in that black stair position, but it actually kind of worked out to his favor. He was able to play this, put pressure, and just be very unrelenting, and this is a problem. And not only is MORMON Battalion faced in these past two rounds, but it's just a very difficult problem with just how but Skyscraper as a whole is structured. It's one of those maps like a Cafe, like a Schley. It is so different that it really doesn't play into the overall meta. There's a lot of semblances of the meta, but it's very different. And that's why it's so defender-sided and why it's really just difficult. And MORMON Battalion essentially can go into this with their best being a 3-3. If they get a 3-3, I would actually be a little bit worried for Fluffy Aimers. But if they can get that standard 4-2 go into the second half with their heads held high. And the problem is, you know, these problems, the missed drones, the missed timing of the plays, the swings and the pushes, that basic, you know, cohesion of team play, if that does start to linger on when they go onto their defensive half, that's when you start to need to worry about MORMON Battalion.
Remember, it's win and you're automatically into playoffs. Both of these teams have qualified in the top, but you do not want to be doing a last chance qualifier for next week. That's on the minds of these two teams. And this is the site that MORMON Battalion got their first offensive win, well, their only offensive win on in that first round against Fluffy. Can they maybe replicate some of that success? IQ coming out, trying to counter Recited. Ooh, but Recited. Oh, he's going to look for the drone. He doesn't know that somebody's also trying to hop through the window. Recited dropped down to 30 HP. He's going to live to tell the tale and escape all the way to second floor.
Yeah, that is just not only so much utility, you know, having that C4 still in hand, but the life of Recited is so valuable to Fluffy Aimers and Rival. Just edging his way across is essentially the only way starting and stopping these players. MORMON Battalion, again, continue to get these opening picks, but they can't really convert them into actual snowballs. They can't win the rounds. And Fluffy Aimers always in a great position. And Yeti, again, this lack of consistent droning could still punish them in this round.
Minute 30 as MORMON Battalion got themselves a big enough kill lead, but as I say that, it starts to disappear. It's now 2v3 in favor of MORMON Battalion. Recited is going to go down onto the floor empty. He has to try and clutch up. There's so much time for MORMON Battalion. Is he going to be able to get the res? It looks like he is. Is there anyone from MORMON Battalion to try and contest it? There is, but Empty just gets right on up and makes us a 1v1. What a clutch this one would be. Get the shots! He's down to 39 HP. Flaws has full HP, and he's going to start doing some drone work. He might have gotten a sound cue. Probably roughly knows where this player is. Ampty's in a similar position. He also knows where his opponent is. 50 seconds. What? Oh my gosh, that would have been a nasty one. Or excuse me, a wall bang. He does actually hit Ampty and drops him down to 20 HP. And that just put so much nerves into Ampty. He's like, oh, how did he know I was here? 30 seconds down the clock. The goggles, not going to be a factor against the ace. Flaws. He does have the diffuser in hand. He doesn't have to worry about that. 25 seconds. Ampty is just playing a sweet time. Here comes some drone work. This is a massive drone. Can he maybe figure it out? He roughly knows where he is. I don't think he got eyes on. Oh! Big round for Mormon Battalion. Shutting down Ampty. And it got scary there for a second for Mormon Battalion, but in the end, Mormon Battalion walk away, and they get their second offensive round online.
Yeah, that is exactly what you need for Mormon Battalion. Again, Fluffy Aimers, these early rounds are absolutely horrible. It really is. Every round, even the very first one where they got a relatively free opening pick, it eventually was traded without Fluffy Aimers getting that second pick trade back. And again, it's really that early round that is continuing to punish them. And on the contrary, it's the late round. Mormon Battalion, this drone work is simply lackluster. Just missing so many obvious spots, these rat angles that these Fluffy Aimer players are knowingly residing in. They know that the drone work is a little bit spotty for Mormon Battalion. They're using that to their full advantage. A couple of misplays and a miss swing, especially over in that top dragon position over by reception. A player just running into a wall, and then you had another one jump over a shield. Not exactly sure if that was on purpose or if it was a misclick, but nonetheless, mistakes like those are so punishable in such a micro game like Siege. But Mormon Battalion have a potential to tie it up on what should statistically not be their favorite half.
Last round before the switch. Fluffy Aimers, this is a big round. You don't want to go to 3-3 on Skyscraper on your defense. That would open the door for Mormon Battalion to potentially be the one that finishes in top 3. And what a collapse this would be from Fluffy Aimers in the final week. They lost yesterday to Team Sesh when they could have secured it. If they were to lose this one going back to back, that would be a massacre for Fluffy Aimers. Well, they're going to get first pick. Yiddy finds Eli to open up the account for this round. Here comes some moving into the site. Exer's going to get into the building. Be pretty slow, but it looks like Fluffy Aimers, they know roughly that something's happening. Exer now is going to make his presence known. 2 minutes on the ground. Mormon Battalion, they're going to slow this one down after losing Eli.
Yeah, and this is exactly what we saw last time with a couple of, different operator changes. 2 players in drums, and then having Emilio on that Wamai behind the shield. This is a problem that last time around, Mormon Battalion never dealt with. They were never able to even make it towards that doorway. They were completely shut down in this entry point into this iron curtain that is drums and top dragon. But this time around, they're just wasting a lot of utility, trying to waste as much time as possible. And again, just not a lot of openings, but they do successfully push Emilio back. This could be a great opening, a great entryway to the site, into this off-site position.
Yeah, Recited uses his last smoke canister. That should bring that down to the 1 minute mark. Once that expires, Siege did take some damage to it. But still, Mormon Battalion is going to keep their players. And it looks like a lot of their players are going to actually... Yeah, everyone really backed up other than Recited. Everyone else is towards site. So here comes the push from Mormon Battalion. They've got a minute left on how they want to try and break into the objective. Toaster trying to do some work on the IQ. It's now a 4v4. Deity's going to fall. There might be a way for Mormon Battalion to make this one 3-3. 45 seconds down the clock. Man count even. Terror and calmness is both on display. It is super quiet at a nervy standstill. Oh, the ace charge was thrown, and it's also going to be stopped as well, being shot. Recited with the kill. Now, only 3 players remain for Mormon in 20 seconds. That's the bigger factor here. They're going to have to start getting a low 1v1 on that statue. Gonna find it, but still, every trade is coming through right now for Fluffy Aimers. They're maintaining their man advantage. The diffuser is in hand of Siege, but you just gotta have to start going. Xer, I think, realizes this. 8 seconds now left on the clock. He does get a knock, so it's a 2v2 temporary, but there's 3 seconds left. He's going to come through. I don't think it is. It's all now left to Xer. Fluffy Aimers are going to clutch up, and MORMON Battalions, it was just a second too late.
Gridlock just not doing enough. Not really getting active, trying to hold that cross over by small bar, but the player just simply sat in the corner. And a continuous great play from Fluffy Aimers, really reacting and using the lack of just overall idea of where their positions are. They know that MORMON Battalion did not have any intel going into that bomb site, aside from there being a player in reception stairs. That's all they had. That's all they knew. They were simply just baiting the swings, trying to potentially expose those positions of those last couple of defenders, but it just never worked. It really never did. And even though it was a shaky half, Fluffy Aimers convincingly are able to pull through and get what is statistically what we do see, a 4-2 half on the defense. And now we get to start the question of MORMON Battalion having relatively a great half, even though it doesn't show in the round count. But are those problems of the lack of cohesion in the late round translating into a lack of intel? Will that linger onto their defensive half?
5 seconds left before insertion.
No one can Fluffy Aimers bringing to the table. It looks like Amos is going to be elected. Recited bringing that one out. I also have a yeeting on the hands of Deity. You'd imagine Siege is going to be the key player to watch in that little battle. But a 4-2 half, it's a pretty standard half. Nothing, I think, is really tipping in the scales for either side. However, I feel like if you're more of a Battalion, you're kind of kicking. You had more, gained some man advantages, but you weren't able to capitalize on some of those rounds. So what could have been a great start on the offense is now looking pretty fair in the round count.
Very aggressive early on, especially a plethora of attacking utility, a Ying, a Deimos, and a Flores, all potentially in theory should be used to try to push out these extended players back closer and closer to the site. But Xer, he's not leaving this position. He's continuing to reside here, continuing to play his part, and he's not heltering under the pressure from Fluffy Aimers.
Yeah, but they are putting some pressure onto him. He has a lot to maybe worry about. He's also being Deimos tracked, and Recited does fall. Deity does get that response immediately. There's still some good time in this for Fluffy Aimers to try and work a push coming on through. Now 4v3. Recited's Deimos did get something out of it, but he ended up falling in the meanwhile. Flaws. He might have this long sight line onto that door frame, but just gonna hop on a cam. Maybe take a look to see what's going on. Five Nights at Freddy style. But Deity, he's gonna start to see some players. Oh, he backs down one. Just challenge it. Oh, he was so close, but just barely. The player dissipates around the corner. He got him Siege down to 17 HP. C4 through. Beautiful throw. Shuts down Deity and brings this one to an even man count.
Yeah, they're really starting to waste a lot of time. They don't exactly have a stronghold again coming into contact with that middle part of the map over by drums, and these C4s continue to punish them and make their time on Skyscraper an actual hellscape. And not a whole lot to work with in Exige on top black. It doesn't really look like they know of his position.
Well, good news for bad news. And count, and there's 30 left. You gotta start going right now. Here comes the swing. Oh, he wasn't expecting him to be there. Toaster shuts it down. It's all down to Ampty in a 1v3. He does know where this last player is, but they also know where he is. 15 seconds left. He doesn't have the fuser. This should be a MORMON Battalion win. If he's gonna throw out a Thatcher EMP, maybe just cause some ruckus, if so. But still, 5 seconds left. They're just holding the cross so that he can't get in the sight. This is going to be a MORMON Battalion's win. Exige does get the final shot. 4-3 is the round count, and this one has the recipe and all the signs to go the distance.
Yep. That was a very convincing round. And I can say on how much that Fluffy Aimers simply were not able to spot a gap, and they were not able to find an opening, eventually push onto the site. And that is because MORMON Battalion locked down every single part of the map. They
would not give away any map control into the last seconds, and that's why they started to bleed the player count in that transition from the fallback from the extended part of the map over by Showcase over to Dragon in Sight. And I was getting a little bit worried that they may have overstayed their welcome and given too much away to Fluffy Aimers, but it simply just wasted just enough time for Fluffy Aimers to transition once they got that map control droned out. They didn't need to waste their own time. It really was just simply a great way to play Skyscraper over by Disco. And that worry of the cohesion, especially in the late round, was completely gone. That was a completely different Mormon Battalion than we saw on the attack. And a lot of the time, we can really just chalk it up to Skyscraper being so defender-sided. But we also know that Fluffy Aimers, what makes them so good is their individual capability to really adapt, find openings, and it is going to be an eventual. It's not going to just always be this. Fluffy Aimers, they will find that gap in Mormon Battalion. They're going to have to be ready to counter it.
Mormon Battalion, they found a little bit of momentum back into this. Fluffy Aimers, they hold on, or is it going to continue to be a slip this week in XGS? We're going to be seeing the Fenrir being brought out from Claws. This is a little bit of a change up from what we've seen from Fluffy Aimers defense. Also going to be seeing the Sophia, so there are some different looks, but oh, D80 gets shot on the rappel, Siege. Now sitting at 4-4 since our restart. D80 has been a strong player for Fluffy Aimers. Now he's not going to be a factor, and that's the Thermite as well. You still have that ace, but less options for that hard breach.
Yeah, that is a absolute huge opening. These players on Mormon Battalion, a lot of the problem that we saw in their very first 2 games in this group stage was they simply could not win those gunfights. They couldn't lock down those entry picks. And this is a problem that has been completely fixed. A majority of the rounds, even on the attack, Mormon Battalion won the entry pick, and this is going to continue to have success on their defensive half. Laws playing probably the most important part of the map, no matter the site. He's going to feel that pressure, look to potentially drop down. But again, that sense of Mormon Battalion not wanting to give up map control into the last couple dying seconds is continuing into this round. In Fluffy Aimers, that gap, that entry into the bomb site is not there yet again.
I was going to take care of one of those Fenrir traps, but still a minute on the clock. You got to get some pressure over towards this side. And Eli is shutting down those Ace Selma charges and playing his life beautifully. Now into double digits on the clock. Emilio might be the first point of contact for Fluffy Aimers. Great aim onto Xer. He's going to start to walk on in through sight. Now, Fluffy Aimers do the last bit and get in. The big question. Flaws is controlling the house stairs. He might be a crucial player to maybe pop up, cause some chaos. He's also so worried about this pinch that could potentially come in from below, but it looks like Fluffy Aimers, they're going to just try and push in from the front. C4s are still in the hands of both Eli and Toaster, so they can throw Kobe if needed. Rival making his way up. Empty finds one. Fluffy Aimers, they might have their way back into this. 4v3, 10 seconds left. You've got to get in towards sight and get the diffuser going. It's now an even man count. The diffuser's on the floor. Somebody has to pick it up. Reside just goes right on through the Fenrir smoke. And speaking of Fenrir, Floss, he's the only player remaining, but do they know where he is? Shuts down the diffuser. And the plant doesn't happen. The coverage was not there. Mormon Battalions, another defensive round.
Again, we saw the exact same play. I believe it was from Rampy upstairs, simply just pre-firing a default spot. It's one of those situations where you as an attacker, you have that bomb, you don't know the last location of that defender, the clock's ticking down, you have to take the best case scenario, and that's why it's default, because it is, in theory, just one of, if not the safest spot to plant the bomb, and also it was simply just the closest for him. And that last player knew exactly the fact that he was going to choose it, read into it absolutely perfectly, wasn't even going to entertain taking the gunfight with his teammate who was up, and eventually shut down the round. And so those individual plays that I really believe put Mormon Battalion in that potential to be a top 5 T2 amateurs. We've seen that lackluster, gunfights. We've seen a little bit of trouble in that department. But the IQ, especially with a player leading the Forge, leading the army like XGS, you have all the resemblance to be a top contending team in the T2 scene. That's why they've been able to survive through both of the teams, through wanting goons. And now they find themselves here, tied up with the potential to get that playoff spot.
This would be such a miracle for Mormon Battalion if they were to win and get into that top 3 and a collapse from Fluffy AIMERS. MP has actually been one of the better players despite being a substitute for Fluffy AIMERS. And did that drone get eaten up by the ace shards? I would be very unlucky if that's what my eyes weren't deceiving me. 2:20 onto the clock. Oh, that's a frost trap. You always got to shoot below you, Deity. They've got a blitz this time around too, so it looks like they're trying to change a little bit of this game plan up, but that frost mat is just gonna make things a little bit more slow for Fluffy AIMERS. But I say that Deity actually just comes out and fires one into the siege.
That is a great find, especially from Deity, who's a player who's essentially useless right now. He's essentially lipping and is the slowest you could possibly be in this game. And not only has he found an opening on that pick, but also he's taken space. He's found a way to cut off this angle, this rotation into Pantry, and he's just going to sit here. He's going to wait out that timer from the frost mat duration, and he's simply going to try to catch this player off.
Emilio is going to fall, and Deity is still on the effects of the frost mat. Now 4v3, so Fluffy AIMERS are just continuing to stay in this one. They hang in the balance. Here comes a pressure onto the site. Toaster is going to get dropped by Recited. Recited fights 2. Diffuser going down. A lot of action happening. Flaws is going to get one, but he's got a diffuser to worry about now as well, and he's upstairs. This should be a Fluffy AIMERS win, unless if a miracle were to happen from Flaws. He does have full HP. That is the one little bright thing that's going his way. Did he mess that little sound cue? They know where he is, though. The information's given up. 24 seconds now on the clock. Surely this is going to be a Fluffy AIMERS win. Flaws drops down to the lower floor. Rival shuts him down. Fluffy AIMERS, they're going to retake their lead.
Yeah, a great answer back, and probably one of the more easier sites to do it, but nonetheless, the setup of those crossfires, we finally see it on attack. That was exactly what they set up on the defense, and they tried to set it up on these past couple of rounds on the attack, but they just simply never had the opportunity. But as soon as they were given the opportunity, as soon as even given the time to set up those crossfires, they did it absolutely perfectly, and then just send in the blitz. It is really that simple, especially if you're able to read the defense. That defense for that barbecue was so split up. You essentially had your roamers completely disconnected from the site, and to the credit of Fluffy AIMERS, they did a great job of making sure that those players on the top floor were not able to rotate back down to the site without taking a gunfight, potentially losing their life, and that really forced those players to stay up there, try to hold that control, try to hold that vertical, but it simply just was not enough because Fluffy AIMERS, by the time they struck the site, Mormon Battalion, they were not ready.
5 seconds to insertion.
Fluffy AIMERS, they got one round, but so far Mormon Battalion has been looking decent in this.
Use a bomb.
It really does. It feels like a 4-2 half, both of these teams. As we enter into the final quarter of this game, in regulation, I guess I should say, it does spell that way as Mormon Battalion does a 2-1 quarter. And we're going to see the echo being brought out by Ixie, so we're going to finally start to see some adjustments. Fluffy AIMERS, on the other hand, they're going to bring out the glass. They're going to keep that blitz. I mean, Recited was able to just have his way in towards the site, working that bomb site perfectly. So Emilio on the glass, though, that might cause some chaos.
Yeah, this is a very high potential operator, but also could be completely useless. That's the problem with the glasses. There's not that high risk and high reward, but if you don't use him to your full capability, it's not going to really happen. But the rush is coming in again.
Got him.
Recited! Everyone backed up by Rival.
Recited actually dropped, but that was enough chaos to get Fluffy AIMERS in. Deity finds a double, and here comes Fluffy. They look to suffocate you with their cuteness, and now it's all down to the glass in a 1v2. And he's going to have to put the aim in AIMERS.
Oh, no.
Here we go. He's got so much time to work with. Looks like Flaws is going to leave the game. I'm not sure what his issue is. He might have to have another tech pause. But in the meanwhile, minute 30, Emilio with the opportunity for a clutch. But they know his information. He's stepping on a Legion mine. He's making noise with his weapon. Surely, Mormon Battalion, they're going to be ready for this. There's no way that they slip this up. Does Emilio have a drone? You've got time, a minute 15. But the other thing, too, he has to worry about, he doesn't have the diffuser. He's going to go for the reposition and just step onto another Legion mine. Taking that long angle. And I like this adjustment because he knows he has the advantage on any long-range fight. That's going to be the adjustment for him. I think Mormon Battalion, though, they're aware of the antics coming in from Emilio, Toaster, and Eli. You know, 1v2 to try and close out the round. Emilio tries to go for the drone hole shot, but nothing's going to really... He's not going to have an angle. Still, the diffuser, nowhere near him. Might try to win this purely by just getting the kills. He's going to get chowed out by the side. Oh, a great flick. He does stay alive, but not enough. Eli shuts that one down. Mormon Battalion tie this one back up.
Hopefully that very drawn out last 1v2 does give enough time for Cassia to rejoin. It's not going to. We're going to go into a quick little tech pause, but Mormon Battalion finally able to get that round back to back. Relatively, I wouldn't say the round barbecue was a rush. It was a direct take onto site. They didn't have that semblance. They did use that extra time to drone, but that time there was like maybe 1 or 2 drones. They relayed that information and then they pushed. And the problem with that is, especially so early on in the round, is that the defender positions are still rotating around. The defenders are still trying to figure out the exact positions that they want to play, and that makes that drone info just a little bit unreliable, allowing for a couple of gaps that worked into the favor for Mormon Battalion to shut down that rush and then eventually put that Glaz in a very uncomfortable and almost unwinnable situation there.
Cassia is back with us. Not sure what the issue was. I hope it's not ping. Cassia does have 8 kills since the restart, leading the way for Mormon Battalion, as well as Deity on the other side. He's got 9 kills to his name, and he was making some plays on that blitz. It was him on the blitz, right? Or was it resided? Now I'm trying to think. It was... Wait, who was it, Goose?
I don't know.
I can't think.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I can't.
Somebody
I can't
did really good on the blitz. I'm just going to give it to Deity because he has 9 kills. You can correct me in the chat if I'm wrong. It's that time of day. It's 10:30.
Yeah.
This game is going the distance right now. This is a barnstormer grueler. We're gonna see a little bit of a different look. It's still that Fenrir that's being brought out, but this time in actually was it? I think it was actually Cassia who did bring it out last time. We're gonna be seeing Thermite, IQ, Flores. I think so far this has been pretty standard since the halftime switch.
It has, been relatively what we exactly would expect. None of these higher IQ plays, a little bit of a tricky angle here. Potentially, you get it off? They tricked it. I don't know. It's not going to have enough time, and they trick it again. They're just completely ready for that. That entire little factor of the round is going to be gone now. And because of that, Resided in this position over by Geisha. And this is a lot of space to take it for relatively freely. And again, it's early round. Positions of the defenders are still rotating and shifting around the map. And this is potentially a good opportunity for Resided to find an opening, find a gap in these relatively unsupported players.
Fluffy Aimers reclaim their lead. Oh well, Resided doing that is going to make it that much easier. The Mormon Battalions are on a little bit of a streak since they've gone on to this defense. They might be able to also claim the lead and go on to match point, series point in our final group stage game of XGS. Deity playing deep, working his way up towards drums. Looks like the Flores is trying to get in and do some damage. Did he get any utility with that, or did he just have to panic use it? What a chow there from Eli. Shuts down Resided. That was a massive kill to put this attack on a halt.
Using this spot from the hot and cold from the last major is it is very difficult. And again, it really plays into the playstyle of Mormon Battalion. You don't exactly know where Mira could be. You don't know where he can swing. And Mormon Battalion continuing to push this expectation that Fluffy AIMERS, they're not going to know the exact spots. They're not going to know where these positions are being held, and they're simply going to have to play a little bit of a guessing game going into this execution.
It's still 4v4. Fluffy AIMERS, they only have 40 seconds left. Emilio with the diffuser in hand. Bending your traps, causing some pain. But this Mira wall is just causing so much problems for Fluffy AIMERS. And you mentioned it before, trying to get past these markers through those door frames can be such a problem, but it looks like Rival does get through, and finally Eli is brought down out of that position, but he did take Rival down alongside him. It's still an evil man count, and it's 15 seconds left. It's now a 2v2. Toaster has so much to worry about. It's now all down to Deity. It's Deity and Toaster. They're doing 1v1. The C4 comes through. Stuns are happening. Deity. It's a lot of chaos happening. He doesn't even have the diffuser. He's got to worry about multiple angles. And Mormon Battalion, they're going to take the lead into this series. We haven't seen it since round 1. And they are also on match point to maybe get that top 3 win. And what a story it would be for Mormon Battalion to finish in top 3 in Group A.
It definitely would be. And, you know, even if Fluffy AIMERS do lose right here, the exact same sense of when I talked about SSG is they most likely will be fine. They obviously won't have plot armor. They won't be undestructible. There's still a chance they could lose in that play-in matchup. But again, the likelihood of them getting out of it is very well. And if you're Mormon Battalion, getting that playoff spot is just, in my opinion, needed. Because going into that play-in position where it's win or lose, just like you are right here, it's going to be a very difficult one. It's going also to give you a little bit of time, breathing room to potentially prep for the team that you are going to face. And for what could potentially be our last round. We've seen a lot of slow takes. We've seen a lot of direct rushes onto sites, just like Barbecue, that we're now seeing for the second time. And Mormon Battalion's answer for this is going to be not only bringing that Fenrir back, but adding the new addition of XGS on the Clash.
Yeah, XGS is just going to be such a pain to deal with for Fluffy AIMERS. And they do have the Twitch being brought out. Got a Ying. Nothing, I mean, which is going to be a little bit of a change-up, but really outside of that, this is a pretty standard push from Fluffy AIMERS. It's Mormon Battalion that might be throwing a wrench into this. And will it be the perfect time to win this one 7-5? Or are we heading to overtime in our final game? This one has really gone the distance with some tech issues and now the round count. But you have to keep in mind, both of these teams are playing for automatic qualification. They do not want to play next Monday.
It's going to be a little bit of a slow start, and they're just simply reading this upstairs, seeing how much utility is being put up here, how much emphasis of a hold the Mormon Battalion is focusing on and resided getting X, or I don't even understand or know where he got him from, but that's a huge pick. We got him over by Drum. That is a huge find. And this time around, Fluffy AIMERS, they're putting all of their cards onto Drums. Recited gets another one onto Eli, and it's starting to fall apart. The hope that was playoffs is starting to fall back into the favor of Fluffy AIMERS.
We're on cusp for an overtime, unless Mormon Battalion can get something. There's still a lot of time as well for the offense. We've already seen 2 Candelas used by Recited, and that vertical control is a big factor. It looks like they're able to get past that one, and it's going to be a change of direction for Fluffy AIMERS as they got to rethink how they want to get in.
It's going to be a very difficult round, but again, the 6th man, in this sense, a 4th man. The timer is going to be coming into factor flaws. He needs to act quick. They're starting to execute onto the site. He needs to try to find an opening. This is what he's planned. This is the opening that he's been looking for. He sees one player. XGS gets another one. And Flaws, he backs it up.
Cassia got a massive kill. It's now 3v3. We're under a minute left. What was a good lead for Fluffy AIMERS is now brought to an even keel. The Clash still alive. Maybe caused that problem that we were discussing about. Toaster, he only has 18 HP to his name. 40 seconds left. Oh my goodness. Cassia going massive with a double kill. Has now found Emilio. and its advantage. Mormon Battalion 30 seconds away from automatically qualifying for playoffs. The clash is down. It's a 2v2. Where is the diffuser? It's not in the hands of any of the players on Fluffy Aimers, but Deity is in sight. He's going to hop through the window and grab it. 1v1. Did not come through. Dude, does he know it's going to be killed up? That's Cassia who's going to pick that one up. It's now a 1v1. Deity getting the diffuser down. No! Cassia gives his team a ticket to the playoffs from up above. 7-5 is our final score, and it's a collapse from Fluffy Aimers, from winning Blitz Gaming Series to now having to play in the play-in in the last chance qualifier in XGS. It has been a rocky road this week for Fluffy Aimers. No JJ problems aboard for Fluffy Aimers today, but Mormon Battalion, all credit to them. Skyscraper seems to be their map. That's 2 wins in a row, and that's great momentum as they are now top 3 in Group A.
Talk about an absolute heater, both in the matchup. Mormon Battalion starting out 0-2, losing both of their games in regulation, coming back not only to get top 3, but to knock down, in my opinion, what is a top 2 NAT2 team. To dismantle the lack of the head honcho JJ is eventually going to lead to the downfall that is Fluffy Aimers. They're going to have to play next Monday in that play-in if they want to potentially get a spot in Season 7 of playoffs.
Yeah, he just mentioned it there, folks. We do have play-ins coming your way, and let's quickly go over those teams that will be in it. It's going to be Fluffy Aimers, I believe. Yeah, they're going to be finishing 4th alongside Team Sesh inside of Group A. As for Group B, it's going to be Carnico and Jocket in the other play-in. So we will be on Monday figuring out which of those 2 teams are going to be advancing to play, which is Thrive, Unks, Wildcard Aces, and Group B in that order. And as for Group A, we just saw it there. Mormon Battalion are going to get that 3rd spot, as well as SSGA in 2nd and Makers in Group A. And let's say a little bit of a thank you to our bottom teams. Outlast Black, Final Form in Group A. And as for Group B, it's Aerial Arise, surprisingly, and 774 that are going to be finishing and being knocked out of XGS Season 7. But folks, I think that's going to do it here. It has been a long night. We are now in playoffs. We will have play-ins on Monday, so make sure to be back here for that. And it's going to all come down to the waiver wire. Who do you guys have winning it? Maybe get it down in the chat. Is it your team? Is it somebody else? Maybe if you're one of these eliminated teams. But you got to be here to find out. It's all crunch time here in XGS. That's all for tonight, folks. Thank you guys for tuning in. And get ready for next week. Take care.